everyone, it's Libby here. Finally coming to make my Disney planning or holiday planning video for you. Obviously this is Disney Cruise Universal planning for our trip at the end of, or towards the end of November. I've been promising this video for quite some time, but I've usually been either too unwell or I've had people not been able to have this room. So finally it's all worked out and we are here today. So I'm going to show you generally this is our 5th trip to Disney World, so we're doing this pretty much the same kind of trip. We like to do our Disney, do a cruise and then a couple of days at Universal to finish up. We've had a few variations on this trip. This trip's been a lot easier to plan because basically we're doing almost exactly what we did on our last cruise, down to staying at mostly the same places and everything. So it's been really easy to plan this trip, but I'll try and give you an overview of how we plan. Now normally when we decide we're going to go somewhere, obviously where we're going is the first decision. Where we're going is our first decision that we have to make. Once we've done that, it's when. So we decided, well Kevin decided we're going to do Disney World again because it's a really good family holiday, something we all really enjoy, all look forward to, and with my health issues, I have fibromyalgia. My eldest, Athena's had some health issues this year, and so's Christy. So we wanted to go somewhere where we didn't have to stress about trying to do everything and see as much as possible, and that we know we're going to be happy. So Kevin decided we should go to Disney World again, and obviously I'm never going to say no to Disney World because I love Disney. And everyone was very excited once we decided that. And obviously when to go, obviously both the kids are at school. Athena's doing her schoolwork at home online, so it's to be all flexible, but still with Christy being in school, Kevin has his own business to run, and we figure towards the end of the year is usually a good time. We've often gone away December, so we decided that would be a good time for you to go again because school's winding down. Christy's not going to miss any important work, and obviously Athena should hopefully be finished her year's work before we go. That'll be her goal now, and yeah, it's just a good fun time to go. We like being in America in December. So we are going on the 22nd of November. So the plan was to go just after Thanksgiving. It's exactly the same time we went last year, and come back before Christmas. We are extending a few days because the only improvement we thought to make on our last trip was a few extra days at Universal. We felt we needed that. Then we also decided we needed a few extra days at the start because I wanted to have a few days just to see a bit more of Orlando, because every time we've been, we've just done Disney World. We've never actually been to downtown Orlando or seen anything besides Disney World and, you know, Universal, that sort of side of things, and some of the shops. So we're now going 2 days earlier to do that. So once we've got our dates sort of picked, a rough itinerary kind of done, work out how many days we want to do different things. So obviously we decided originally we we're going to have 2 weeks at Disney World. The week, one day Kevin wanted to do Kennedy Space Center, and obviously the night before our cruise we like to go over to Cocoa Beach the night before the cruise so we can get on the boat as early as possible. And so a week cruise, we worked that out, and then 4 days at Universal at the end before flying home. And then, as I said, subsequently we added an extra 2 nights on in Orlando before we go across to Disney World for that part of the trip. So we've got all that sorted out, we've got our dates picked. Usually then what we do is book our flights, if possible using frequent flyer points, but that doesn't usually often work out for us these days. So if we haven't got that booked, then we'll leave it and book sort of from the 6-month mark on. On our last trip we booked exactly 6 months out. The fares come down to a really great price, we got a great deal. This year we went past the 6-month mark and still no deals until just recently. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit because we did things a little bit differently. But usually the first thing we were doing is booking our, first thing usually I do is get a notebook. Now I actually picked this one up a few years back at from Typo here in Australia, and I've been keeping it. It was just so cute, I had to get it. It's one of those ones with a little binder and a little bookmark thing. And I had it in the cupboard ready and waiting for when we decided to come back to Disney World again. So I had my cute Minnie Mouse notebook ready to go. But I've sometimes use a smaller one, but I usually get a notebook, and that's where I do all my preliminary note keeping when I'm reading on websites or reading books on Disney World. I make all my notes in here. Okay, so I did make some notes to help me with this video. So obviously in addition to my notebook, I also use TripIt. I find TripIt is a really good program to keep all our bookings, reservations, any addresses that we need. You can also put in prices for things and any notes that you need. So I do keep all of our our official itinerary in there. So once anything is confirmed, it goes into TripIt. I think it's a free program. I believe so. We've been using it for a number of years, and it really, really is a good program because you can access it anywhere. The information gets stored in your phone, and even if you don't have Wi-Fi, you can still access all your data. So yeah, I do definitely recommend TripIt for keeping all your final itinerary. So once we've possibly booked our flights, the next thing I do is start to investigate accommodation, things like accommodation, car rental, ticket prices, where we're going to buy tickets from, booking cruise. I think I'll probably do a separate video on the cruise side of things. So I start to look into sort of what kind of activities we want to do, any tours that we want to take, things like that. And that's where I put all that note keeping goes into here. So I will go through this with you, but I think I'll do that at the end of my sort of discussion of how I do things. So this can be like months in the planning that I'll just be keeping notes. I'm still taking notes until everything's finalised. I use this, but as I said, anything that's booked goes into TripIt. I don't bother. Sometimes I write things in here too, but usually just go straight into TripIt to keep all our official information that we don't want to lose or misplace. So I also start to search on websites. So I'll use things like TripAdvisor for accommodation. As I said, I kind of got to cheat with this trip because we're staying at all the same places, except we are staying at a different Universal hotel, and we have 2 nights at, I can't remember where it's called now, but somewhere in Orlando that we hadn't been to. But I use TripAdvisor to find that place and to book that place. So I tend to use booking.com to book accommodation for places like the Universal and the place I can't remember in Orlando. So in addition to TripAdvisor, there are obviously a lot of Disney specific websites. I use Walt Disney World information. I think it's this wdwinfo.com. I will link below any of the websites, and Disney Information Station. There's some forums. I think they're on the Disboard forum, so they're on the Disney Information Station. I think that's what it's called. And then we use a program or an app called, is it an app or program? I'm not sure, called Touring Plans. We've used them the last few Disney trips, and they help you plan out which rides to do in which order to minimise things like waiting and minimise walking and things like that. And I do highly recommend you get that program. Probably more so now that things like fast passes that you have to book in advance, so you really do need to plan out your days. It'll be interesting this trip because that's a different system to our last trip, so I don't know how it affects things now, because now pretty much everyone has to pick in advance which parks they're going to, which days and roughly what time they're going to be there in order to book their fast passes for rides. I don't think I'm going to go into specific things like all that information in this video, because other people have done it, and it's also on all these websites that I'm mentioning. The information's out there. I said I'm quite lucky in the regards in this trip is that I've done Disney. This is our 5th trip to Disney World. I know what I'm doing. I know the way the parks work. I've just got to learn how to use the new fast pass system pretty much. And yeah, so I'll also start to look at what restaurants we might like to look at and might want to go to. Unfortunately, the Australian dollar is really bad at the minute, so we're actually not going to do a lot of sit-down meals. We'll do mostly counter service. We usually like to start off having our first Disney meal at the Crystal Palace, but it was going to cost us something like $150 for lunch. And it's a character meal with Winnie the Pooh. We love doing it. We've done it, I think, every other trip we've been on. But now with the dollar being so bad, it just makes it so expensive. I think the prices have gone up, and then our dollar's bad, so we decided not to do that this time. We're going to get counter service. I do need to look carefully at the menus for the places because I am a vegetarian, and a lot of the places don't have any vegetarian options. So I do need to have a look and have a plan of where we're going to eat, because otherwise we'll be walking around looking from place to place. And I don't really want to be doing that at Disney World. I'd rather know where I'm going to go or what options of where I can get a vegetarian meal. I also like to read some travel books. Usually I have bought them in the past, but this time I've got them for my Kindle, so I can't remember which ones I got. Again, I'll look them up and I'll link below, but I've just reading one this time. That's probably all I'll do because there's so much information on the internet these days, but I'd like to have a book to read through and have to have a general review of things. So, but if you haven't been before, I think probably getting at least one Disney World book would probably be a really good option and a good place to start with. Okay, so in specific regard to Disney World, I need to do a more detailed itinerary. So I generally just start to do that on paper. So I will draw up a rough, very rough as you can see. I haven't even got much in that, but I'll start to do the days and then I'll do a plan for the morning, afternoon and evening. And I didn't get very far on that one before I realised I needed to use a bigger bit of paper. But I did start to make some rough notes here that you can see of what days we were going to do things, using touring plans to check how busy the parks are going to be on any particular day. And obviously it's very flexible, just, you know, you need to start somewhere. So as I said, I realised pretty quickly I needed a bigger bit of paper. So I think this is the second version that I did, very messy, and then this is the third and current version that I'm working with. As you can see, we're getting a bit neater now because things are getting a bit more finalised. At the moment, I've already made our dinner or 2 meal bookings for Disney World. I have booked lunch at the Rose and Crown on day 4, and lunch the next day at the Rainforest Cafe, but just because that's when we're going to be at Animal Kingdom. So again, that's another meal that we always do those 2 meals, and usually Crystal Palace. And we're not actually doing any other sit-down meals at Disney World, so only the 2 bookings, and then yeah, the rest will be counter service. Obviously after that comes the actual bookings of things, and I think I will do that in another video, and I'll probably discuss more of the cruise side of things in that video. Okay, so on to the book. So obviously I've got here our proposed dates. As I said, we're now leaving on the 24th now. So we've got 2 extra days staying at the Wyndham Bonnet Creek where we stayed last time. So obviously we knew this pretty much straight off the board. Our dates for Kennedy Space Centre, and then our cruise. We're doing Oasis of the Seas, the Eastern. And then again we are coming back now on, yeah, we're leaving on the 22nd. So we've got from the 18th to the 22nd. At Universal. I don't know why I didn't write that in. And then a flight home, arriving back on the 24th. I always say no, we're going to need transfers to the airport. They have now been booked, and flights, because obviously that was not there. So I actually already have done quite a few bookings. I did them based on the dates, knowing that we could either cancel them or change them if our dates change when we actually got around to doing our flights. But looking at car hire, I think I'll do a separate video on where we've actually booked later on, so you can, and I can give you all the links to those places. So we're looking at a few different options of getting car hire for the whole trip. That's sort of the prices that I was looking at, plus parking. We'll need parking for the week we go on the cruise. Another option is just getting a car while we're at Disney World for the 2 weeks. Obviously a lot cheaper, but then we've still got to get over to the cruise terminal, back from the cruise terminal, from Universal to the airport, things like that. The other option is just having the car for the week, and then looking at an Uber and transfers and things like that. So actually here is the car rental that we use. We use economy car rentals. We used them on the last trip, found them to really good prices, and there was no problem. And actually our booking this time is going through Europcar. I think last time we used Dollar Car. We booked through them, and they give you the actual car company that you're booking through. So, but the best thing for us, it was included all our insurances, all extras. We weren't hit with anything extra when we got there. So yeah, I've got that, our original booking, and then obviously we had to extend it by 2 days. So I changed the date to the 24th. It went up quite considerable. Well, it went up by a few $100s, I think. We had to cancel one booking and rebook. And we're now arriving on Thanksgiving Day. So, and then over here we've got our accommodation for Bonnet Creek. I booked, well, it looks like I'm going to do all the booking information in this video anyway. We use a company called Vacation Strategy. We used them last time. I recommended a friend to use them on their trip to Disney World and highly recommend them. If you look on the Disney boards, there's nothing bad comes back about them. You get really great prices. So basically we're about $100 a night for accommodation. We've got a 2-bedroom apartment. So we stayed at Bonnet Creek last time and loved it. So we booked our 14 nights, paid our deposit. We've got our balances due at the end of October. I mean, really, if we were going to stay at Disney World, with the Australian dollar, this is American dollars, but we would be, you know, I think like the cheapest you can get is a couple $100 a night, up to like $500 or more. You can go really high, but we'd probably be looking at a couple of $100 a night just for a room with 2 beds in it. Whereas now we get, you know, a 2-bedroom apartment and lots of space. And the best thing about Bonnet Creek, it joins up. It's an adjoining property to Disney World, so it's actually closer than some of the Disney resorts, so to the park. So it's a great location. Can't really beat it, I don't believe. It is a timeshare. Last time when we stayed there, we were a bit concerned we were going to get sort of pressured to go on one of the timeshare tours. I don't know, it's because we're from Australia. There's a big cooling off period for Australians signing up for timeshares. So I think they just thought we were from Australia and didn't bother us, because I know my friend that I recommended also didn't even get a phone call. But I've heard of people who are in America, they just leave their phone off the hook or just turn them down. I don't know, but I think there's a bit more of a pressure sales if you do get sort of roped into doing the timeshare tour. Okay, so then a look at our Disney World tickets. Again, we use Undercover Tourist. We've booked with them before. We've got our tickets for them before. We've already got them. That was about the first thing that came with our Disney World tickets because the prices were going to go up, so we booked them at the older price. So we got a 10-day park hopper with water park. Turns out we're actually probably going to use 9 days of it, but anyway, it's like the last day is not very expensive, so it didn't really matter too much. And if we decide one extra day there, we can have an extra day at the park. So as you can see now, it goes into like the general note making side of things. Been making notes of shopping centres and addresses, of some of the shops we want to visit. You see, last time we shopped at Goodings, but someone's recommended Publix or Winn-Dixie, I think were the 2 recommendations to go to. So I've got addresses for those. We probably will still use Goodings because it is right at the crossroads, nice and convenient, but we will go to Whole Foods on our first day, and then probably we'll try and get to one of the other shopping centres another day. Now, so here's my sort of very initial things, trying to work out what we needed to do, and I've got some restaurants that we were interested in going to. Kevin really wants to go to the Cheesecake Factory, but I don't think it's going to happen because it's at the Mall of Millennia and there's nothing else that we really want to do at the Mall of Millennia. So I don't know that's going to happen. Okay, and then I sort of divide up the book into Magic Kingdom. Oh, sorry, yes, I just go through and just do a couple of pages for each of the Disney parks, and then sort of midway through the book it'll change to the cruise. And so there's the cruise, and then Universal's further towards the back. Because I'm just generally making notes all over the place at this stage. So when I was reading through some of the books on Disney World or reading websites, forums, I just make notes. So as you can see, some recommended teacups a night. These are just in no order, just general. Some things that the Crystal Palace has already been ruled out. Well, there you go. It's actually going to cost us about $200 Australian dollars for lunch. By the time, $30 per person, add in tax, tips, and then convert it into Australian dollars. We thought that was a bit too much to spend for lunch. So, but I make notes of other places that are recommended in 2 different spots. Write down any food that like particularly the family would be interested in. Although I'm always hunting out healthy foods, I try and, like I've got over here, Liberty Square Market, you can get baked potatoes and corn cobs. I'll also put in treat foods as well, or things that I come across. But just trying to make just general notes about food and Probably not a lot about rides because we know all the rides, but if I wasn't sure about any rides, I'd be writing down things too. You know, things like here allow Magic Kingdom, you've got to get to the Ticket and Transport Centre, and then you've got to go by either monorail or boat across to the park entrance. And last time I don't think we'd allowed anywhere near enough time, so I've got here a note that I've read somewhere, allow 20 to 30 minutes to do that. So, and then I've got some things, again, Jungle Cruise at night. I think I started writing down, I think I've written down all the rides that are in, just to help my planning a bit more. Some things, I think I asked the family were they wanting to do that. They said no. Again, Tom thought, oh, no one's worried about doing that. So, and I've written down how long some of the rides are. Again, if you were new to Disney World, you'd probably need to write down a lot more information on the different rides. And then I've got some information on the different shows. Recommended or suggested parade viewing spots and good place to watch the fireworks from. So I'm still doing this sort of planning, detailed planning, but I think this is the most fun part, so I do tend to get started on this quite early. So moving on to Epcot, again, just any things that someone recommended the chocolate ginger cake, so I'll write that down, and then when we're there we may or may not get it, but if I write it down, at least I can remember that someone had suggested that it was really good. Ideas for doing illuminations, a bit about the fast pass strategy things, then Future World, all the things that you sort of want to do in Future World, and the time frame of some of the rides. A bit longer, and then I've got World Showcase. I've just written down the rides here, all the movies, because there's rides and movies at most of the places. Yeah, and just like any notes, like this has got a meet and greet behind the pagoda, and the answer questions about Japanese youth culture. I thought the kids would probably like that, and just got to check the times for that. So World Showcase, Italy, I've written be sure to visit both stores. So again, I've still got blank pages. Then moved on to Hollywood Studios. Again, we've got food. I think food might be a bit of a priority for myself. It is because of the vegetarian places, and actually at Hollywood Studios there aren't a lot of vegetarian options, so you need to know where to get them from. And again, fast passes, and then how long the shows are. Just any notes that have come across. Animal Kingdom, same kind of thing. I think I had a really good food, with a PDF that I bought. I think I actually paid for it, about all the different food stuff at Disney World. So again, I will try and link as much as I can below, or I might even do a blog post and put it on my blog, and you can find it from there. We'll see later on, because I'm going to have a lot of links to put in. Okay, so yeah, and then there's different areas at Animal Kingdom, how long again the shows go for, and different rides. And then this was the Christmas party, but at this stage we decided not to do the Christmas party again because the prices went up a lot. And again, once we convert the dollars, it's super expensive. And I'm not sure we're going to go though. We decided not to go, but we still may go. But I didn't make any further notes because we decided we weren't going. And then I've got some notes on Disney Springs. I think some more shops have opened up since then. Oh, I've got another page for the Christmas party. So yeah, look at the price. Advance, it was going to be $92 plus tax, almost $100. Convert that into Australian dollars, and it was like almost $150 for the evening. Times 4 was $600. So that was why we decided not to go. And then again, my initial planner I've already showed you. And then again, notes about monorail resort hopping. I really want to try and get to a few of the different resorts to look at their Christmas displays. Whether we do or do not, I don't know. And then I had some notes here about, oh, that's about the airboat ride. I've still got to look into that. I haven't looked at that yet, so I need to do a bit more about that. And so I found out about those ones using TripAdvisor. And then Busch Gardens, but I don't think we're doing Busch Gardens. So then I've got a few notes about Orlando. I really want to go to this vegan kitchen place. Ethos Vegan Kitchen. It's at Winter Park. So, and then at some stage during the trip, I want to go to Celebration. We never got to visit there last time. Florida Mall we're doing again, and the Premium Outlets we're doing again. Just making notes about when they're open. And then moving on to Port Canaveral, Kennedy Space Centre. Again, I haven't looked any more about this. I need to get, again, it's another thing I have to get onto. And we're just staying at the same place we stayed last time, which is the La Quinta Inn in Cocoa Beach. And I've booked already 1 night queen room with ocean view like we had last time. And then we go into the cruise. So again, we've already booked our cruise and there are our rooms. But before that I was writing down some notes. So subsequently I feel that we should have booked a lower deck rather than deck 12, but anyway. And then some notes I read about Sail Away, where to watch from. And then I found some notes somewhere on secret areas of the boat, so we'll try and find them one day. Suggested to do the zip line on the first day. That'll probably just for Christy and Kevin. And then breakfast options, or breakfast and lunch options for on the cruise. And then I broke down each day. We still haven't booked Nassau. I've actually booked all our other tours, but obviously I haven't written them in here because I must have gone straight from TripAdvisor research to making bookings. And then St. Martin, I've already done that, I booked that. So I think I'll go through detailed bookings later on, but just to give you an idea. And then, so those are 3 days. And I haven't really done a lot for the cruise. I don't really need to do a lot, I guess, but most of the effort goes into Disney World. So then we've got our accommodation for Universal. We're staying at the Hard Rock Hotel. Turns out that this week is now a peak week, so it's very expensive, as you can see, crazily expensive, but it's going to be like a treat at the end of the cruise, and it balances out our Disney World savings. And just a note that, you know, you've got laundry there, which you're probably good, probably want to do some laundry after the cruise. And the rooms have got a small fridge, and then looking at different options. So then City Walk, a place to grab a meal. I think Athena wants to do most of our Universal planning, but we'll see. They said that last time I didn't do much. So I'll be making notes anyway. Not too many because I haven't had them in the focus. And Hollywood, what? That's not Hollywood Studios, that would be Island, that would be Universal Studios. So, as you can see, I haven't made many notes about this because Athena is going to do most of Universal. And I think the last thing at the book, the last thing I have here is a list of movies that we wanted to watch before going on the trip. And we rotate through the family. We've watched Pirates of the Caribbean now, Entangled, watched them last weekend, and The Mummy we've watched. I need to check a few more off. There were ones sort of with rides related to the movie, so we're going to try and watch all those. And then obviously we can watch extra ones as well. But yeah, I think that is it for this book. So I hope this has given you some good starting points or a good idea about how I go about planning. And I will try and make another video to show you what we do in regards to our actual bookings and how I don't know how I can get, I might print out my TripAd report so I can show you that and show you how we do more of our bookings and things. But I think that is generally, that's what we're up to at this stage anyway. So I can probably show you when we've done some more bookings and when I've sort of finalised all our itinerary, I can show you how it all comes together. Anyway, if you've got any questions about anything, just let me know. Otherwise, there will be a follow-up video sometime before we go. Okay, bye.